But you don't look like Joel. Hi, welcome to Chasing Channels.
I'm Joel, and fun fact about me is I've broken my elbow 2 times.
I'm D, and a fun fact about me is that one time I was called a bad coworker because of a mistake that coworker had made. And this is Chasing
Chasing
Channels.
channels.
I was trying to think of a fun fact, and for some reason that immediately popped into my head from like this past summer.
I was gonna say, I feel like we've unfortunately all been there. We've all had that one coworker who's like, I'm mad at you at this, but they do like either the exact same thing or they literally did that and they're just blaming you, and you're like, what did I do to deserve
The
this?
thing is, they said that in the email where they quit on the second to last day of the whole program. We live in love.
We don't.
You know what we do live in love for? Is the game that we all know and love. The series that we watch on the telly, as they say in England. It's Survivor 44 officially.
Officially. That happened yesterday for us.
It sure did. Or 2 days ago for you listening at home.
Yeah.
Or however long ago if you're listening to this in the future.
I thought I was gonna be, like, more full of energy for this, but I am still processing what happened. I'm and we're gonna get into it. We're gonna unpack all the traumatic things that I had to go through
Yep.
watching this episode, and I didn't think that was gonna happen, but here we are.
Here we are. We will review this week's episode of Survivor, and we'll talk about how we did in our fantasy leagues, what happened out there on the island, and everything that we end up talking about.
Yeah, and I feel like this is gonna be definitely a bit of a longer episode just because the season premiere was 2 hours long. I also need to get around still. I really wanna listen to, Jeff's Jeff Probst's new podcast. I've been listening to some other Survivor podcasts, and it's been awesome just, like, listening to their opinions and, you know listening to other podcasts, supporting other podcasts. That's been fun, but I really want to listen to what Jeff, Mr. Probst, your
My
your,
twin.
uh,
My
your
twin.
your twin has
Look at us. I'm going to put Jeff right where you are right now. Look at us. Twins.
It better be the photo of him in the sunglasses from, like,
Identical.
season.
It's going to be the best Jeff photo I can find, guaranteed.
There's a lot of good Jeff photos, so
yeah.
Godspeed to you.
But I agree. I want to hear what Jeff has to say, so I'm going to tune in. But if you want to hear what we have to say on a weekly basis, then you know what to do. You've got to hit the subscribe button. You've got to hit those follow buttons on Twitter and Instagram. You've got to get connected to our social media. Statistics say that we have to say this so that you'll do it or else you'll forget. So
if you're one forgetful bitch, then we've told you, you've been warned. Well,
so should we get to the episode?
Yeah. So the season premiere episode opens with Carolyn talking with the producers, and I think this is hilarious and already such a great introduction to Carolyn, the character of Carolyn, which is usually the season premieres of Survivor. They cut to them either like even it sounds so weird in older seasons, them on a helicopter, them riding in on the boat, more recent seasons, them riding in on the boat, them trucking through the jungle in this like truck. But no, we open with Carolyn, who's just like awestruck, has no idea what to say. The producer's like, this is the easy one. Your name, and what you do for an occupation. And
It
she
was
just couldn't, which
I
is
think too, it was
understandable.
the perfect way to open the season considering like how much characters there really are on this season of Survivor,
This
especially that were
cast is
introduced this
so
episode.
likable.
So fun to watch.
I I feel like I'm gonna be heartbroken every single time.
Mhm. And you know, there's been a lot of hype. Jeff has been hyping up this season a lot. And I wonder if them doing that little bit with Carolyn at the beginning was sort of another way of them trying to say like this season is special,
Yeah.
because that's a cool way to open it. That's something people are going to remember for a while, I
I
think.
really liked too how in the beginning before they get to, the boats of them, like, coming in and walking on the beach, where it's literally almost every single person got, like, that little confessional, and it was all
Yeah.
these really quick jump cuts. I thought that was really fun and, like,
Mhm.
a way to kind of, like, build to the energy.
Mhm.
It was definitely kind of like the build up to the beat drop of them, like, walking on the beach essentially, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Yeah. Because then I'm trying to remember, did we then get the shot of them all riding on in the boat?
Yeah.
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 It's been I liked when they changed it up, but for the past like 10 seasons or so, every time they've been brought in, it's on the like individual little speedboats. And they
Yeah.
show like shot of head and then person like, I'm a so and so from place and place, and this is why I'll be good at Survivor. Like I immediately remember like Claire saying like my job is that I have to give people $1 million. So now what do I have to do to have people give me $1 million?
Yeah, or it's, I really don't like, this type of person, and then it cuts to them and they're like that exact,
Yeah.
personality, or it's like, "My first impression of so and so is this."
There's
Um,
there's always one person where someone else will cut a confessional in the first episode where they're like, my opinion of this person is that they're very loud.
there's a lot of loud people on this season too.
There sure are.
Yeah. Um, so we get to the first challenge.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, like, they walk on the beach, Jeff's asks them the standard questions.
Yeah.
If you've I've watched the preview of it, so I was kinda like, "Yeah, whatever," like, I've seen it
Yeah.
already, you know?
Yeah.
Nothing special happens, but the first challenge that they start right off the bat, pretty much the premise of the challenge was they had to be in pairs, and they had to go under the mud, like, under this, yeah, they had to go sorry. I'm tired. I this is not an excuse, but I just worked, like, 5 days in a row, and
Mhm.
I opened 4 out of 5 of those days. I'm fucking wiped right now. Okay, deep breath, Joel. Okay. So, the premise was they had to go under this thingy, and it was all muddy and stuff, and then they had to get puzzles, and then they had to slide the puzzles across the thing, and then go under the thing, and they had to do that in pairs, and then once they had all the puzzle pieces, then they had to do the puzzle, and then after they had the puzzle, they had to sh throw this ring up and get it off of this
Mhm.
huge gigantic pole, and then if they did that, the first team, they won pot, machete, and flint. Um, the second team, um, I don't remember if they got anything.
Just Flint. The second
That's
team got just Flint.
okay, thank you. They got just flint, and then they had the choice between, doing sweat or savvy to get the rest of their supplies. And then the last team got nothing, and they got the leftover challenge. So
Mhm.
if the first tribe, well, in this case, the tribe that got second chose
Yeah.
sweat. So the tribe that lost got the leftover, which was
Right.
sad, which didn't end up working out for them. But we'll
Yeah.
get into that.
Yes. This first challenge was like the classic first challenge on Survivor, something that's going to force all members of your team to do a lot of like running and ducking and jumping and throwing. And I'm I have to be honest, I am a little tired of that being the first challenge. I would love, like, the first challenge in Borneo is a great first challenge that's different from that. Like,
Mhm.
something that sort of has more of a focus as opposed to the Swiss Army challenge that it tends to be.
Yeah. I also think it's really rude that the first challenge that they did got them completely dirty.
Yes.
Like, that is rude.
It's also rude how, like, physically demanding these first challenges always end up being, as we saw in the beginning of the challenge, when they were going underneath the thing to crawl in the mud. Bruce hit his head pretty darn badly.
It was literally on the first thing.
Literally on the first thing, Bruce hit his head and he got through the mud part of the challenge. His face was covered in blood. It was like watching an AEW match on Wednesday night.
Yeah, that scared me,
Yeah.
for many reasons. Well, one, he's like I really liked him in the preseason,
Mhm.
and he's literally was on my fantasy team,
Yeah.
and if you've been keeping up, and we're gonna get into all of it, I got absolutely cucked this episode. My fantasy
Mhm.
team demolished.
Yeah.
Um, but it's always you never want to see like medevacs are really scary or medical situations, medical injuries are
Mhm.
always really tough to watch. And I feel like for the person like that it's like sorry. I feel like the person who went through it, them
Mhm.
having to watch it all happen again on
Yeah.
TV, like that's so traumatic. It's really vulnerable. And a
True.
lot of other parts of the show are obviously vulnerable for
Right.
different reasons. But yeah, and just to have that, you know, that kinda just dropped the mood for me. I think maybe that's why they also maybe started out
Right.
the way they did at the beginning with the Carolyn,
Right.
opening and then the quick jump cuts.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why, but that I was like, "Oh god." And then I was just, like, worried about him the entire
Right.
time.
Right. So they keep going through the challenge. They're doing the parts. They have to stop because Bruce is starting to feel lightheaded and he has to lean down. Medical comes in and takes care of Bruce. At this time, they say that Bruce is good to go for now with monitoring to be done at the beach.
Mhm.
And they get back into the challenge. And it not just because they lost a player, but because of unfortunately, because was it Carolyn at the end for Tika Tribe? Unfortunately, Carolyn really struggled with the ring toss
Yeah, it
part
was
of it.
Caroline at the end because Carolyn
She
and
took off
it's
her
so
pants in
funny.
hopes to
She
help.
said, "I have to take off my pants, and it'll help me do better," and it
It
did.
did.
The pants okay, no, she did a little bit better. The pants were holding her back, okay?
True.
The
True.
the pants were sabotaging her.
Right.
Um, I really liked, I really liked that Jeff turned it to Bruce to call
Mhm.
the challenge back on. I thought that was appropriate and nice.
Mhm. That was
Um
really cool. That's the first time I think a player's done that in Survivor.
Yeah, I think so too. Because
Mhm.
sometimes Jeff, and I was just because I was live tweeting, throughout the episode, which that
Mhm.
was really fun to do, and I got to just, like, again, see what other podcasts were thinking, past Survivor players.
Right.
Carla tweeted, she might have tweeted it today, or later last night, but she was like, I'm kind of glad that they're taking things more seriously because I literally couldn't feel my hand and Jeff just told me to dig deeper.
Mhm.
So, and especially too, like that's so scary because it's your head. That could be a brain injury, you know?
Right.
But I do think that was important for Jeff to like be like,
Mhm.
we will go when you're ready
Right.
because going through a traumatic injury is
Right.
a lot.
Right. And so while Tika was, I think, the first tribe to get to the ring toss phase, the other tribes eventually caught up, and both of them completed it before Tika could. So, if I'm remembering right, I think it was Soka won the whole challenge, and Ratu came in second,
Yeah,
I believe.
you're correct. You're correct. Yeah, because Ratu did the sweat.
They chose Sweat though.
Yeah, they chose sweat.
So they would have came in second and
Yeah,
then okay, yeah.
yeah.
So challenge is done.
Challenge is done.
It was a first challenge,
I'm
you
not
know.
a huge I'm not a huge challenge person. Um,
I like some
I like
challenges.
I like individual immunity challenges, but, like, tribe challenges,
A lot of
okay.
challenges that I like, they haven't done in at least 10 seasons.
Yeah, that's so fair.
Bring back the auction.
I love the auction. The
The
auction
auction, I think
is
with this cast specifically would be a lot of fun.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I I don't know where I was going with that.
Mm.
I'm so sorry for you editing this, in the near future.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's still
But
better. It's still better than me not even. I lose track of my thought all the time. I just ramble.
okay, anyways, so now we're just gonna talk about each tribe's dynamics because
Mhm.
I was thinking about, like, possibly, like, going in, like, complete chronological order, but there's a lot that happened. Like, maybe in the future episodes, but there's 2 hours of Survivor content that we
Mhm.
need to unpack here. So we're just gonna go over the overall
Mhm.
tribe dynamics
Right.
before the, summit
Right.
slash adventure
Right.
pre-immunity challenge. So,
So, should we start with probably the least eventful of the tribes?
yeah,
In-
we'll go with the tribe who won, and then, like, so
Yeah,
we'll go
we'll go down the line.
Soka, Ratu, Tika.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Soka, they all get together and they like each other. They're all nice to each other.
Yeah.
Franny and Matt might like each other a lot.
Yeah, and it's literally stated in the episode 2 preview.
Yeah.
And I think there was definitely a rumor that got dropped about it because I also saw, like, tweets about that. And I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh," I didn't even think to, like, jump to that. I was like, "Oh, they're just like, like a guy and a girl because guys and girls and whoever,
Right.
anyone can be friends with anyone, you know? It doesn't matter." But yeah, it looks like but I did write because like, Matty B Raps,
Yeah.
he I think he got, like, because I wrote notes, to
Mhm.
make sure I didn't forget anything, but he pretty much was like, "Well, the reason I came on this show, like," well, not the reason, but he was like, "I just got over a really bad breakup and
Mhm.
blah, 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 blah," and he was just being, he was being kinda hard on himself and
Mhm.
he I think they definitely, like, state that and to clue in, like, the showmance thing.
Right.
I do think it's kinda cute that it's happening between 2, like, kind of quirky,
Right.
nerdy, castaways instead of your, like, conventional, like, Boston Rob and Amber or, Amanda and Ozzy, like,
I
conventionally,
honestly, the only other showmance I could think of was Taylor and Fishy in Millennials versus Gen X.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, because they weren't good at it and they got both eliminated pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
and Jeff Probst was gonna marry them.
Yeah, oh, he was. Jeff's gonna marry someone on the show someday.
Yeah.
Like how there was the whole was the Jeff and Jordan actual wedding on Big Brother.
Oh my
That's
god.
gotta happen eventually on Survivor instead of a challenge, you
Yeah.
know?
Literally the only other thing I, like, wrote down or I tweeted it, I literally was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, Queen of STEM Heidi's starting the fire."
Yes.
That's
It
literally
seems
it.
while alliances haven't really started to form on Soka, I'm starting to see the basis of basically Carson and the girlies as an alliance.
That's not Soka though.
It's not. Oh, I'm thinking wrong tribe. I
No.
can be a little dumb sometimes.
No, that's okay. There's literally so many people. No.
There's
So that's, so this is So on Soka, it's Heidi, Claire, Maddie B. Raps,
Yes.
Franny, Danny, and Josh.
Danny, I want to talk about Danny for a second because he
Yeah.
didn't get a ton of screen time, but I really enjoyed the screen time that he did get. I
Yeah.
think hopefully if he stays for a while, he's someone who can develop into a really fun character.
Yeah. I totally got that too. I definitely there's a lot of like my preseason thoughts that have already been
Yeah.
redeemed. And I'm like, I'm happy. Like, because like again, like I'm saying, like at the beginning of this, like this cast is so likable.
Oh yeah.
And I'm really happy about that, you know?
Right.
I don't think I have any other thoughts on Soka yet. I will have thoughts on a particular player from Soka.
Yes.
Um, I think I think we everyone knows what we're talking about. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes.
So Ratu.
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 This tribe is I'm gonna say it right up the top. So Ratu tribe is a mess.
Yeah, they're a mess.
This tribe, so they were the second place team, so they chose Sweat, which their goal was two people had to like put coconuts in a bag, but they had to alternate piles and like drag the bag of coconuts. And so
Yep.
like as they got going, the coconuts got a lot harder to do. They finished it, no joke, within maybe 30 seconds of the timer running out.
Yeah, I wrote Matty G is so hard on himself, and it broke
Mm-hmm.
my heart. I'm like, "Homeboy, have some confidence. You got cast on here for a reason." Like, I wasn't even thinking he's like, "I have to prove myself because 'cause I'm the oldest one and I'm the shortest." I'm like, "Dude, you look, like, fit and ready to go. Plus, you're a nature king."
Right.
Like, but he was like, "I gotta prove myself," and blah, 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 and Brandon was the other one that did it, so obviously that bonded them together. They were like, "Well, we've been dragging these coconuts, so obviously we got
Mm-hmm.
each other's back," which makes sense. They're the ones spending time together. So while they were doing that challenge, the ones that were left, which were Jamie, Lauren,
Mm-hmm.
Kane, and Maddie, went to go start setting up camp, and lo and behold, we have the birdcage.
The
I
birdcage.
I don't remember any of the birdcage dynamics on Soka. I don't.
Um,
They're
I
not
am fairly
present.
certain that for the other two tribes, the birdcage thing was like, oh, there's a birdcage. We'll keep watching that.
Yeah, for real. But they decided to hold off on looking for anything like a key or anything
Mhm.
to unlock it until, Matt and Brandon came back because they
Yeah.
didn't wanna cause any mistrust, which, like, respect.
Yeah.
Like, but also I'm like, you guys would have had the numbers anyways.
Hmm.
So, like, but I get it.
Right.
Like, you wanna keep that you wanna keep the energy and morale and, like, trust between each other good
Right.
before them because an immunity challenge, like, hasn't happened yet, so they
Right.
wanna obviously, they don't wanna go to tribal, so,
Hmm.
um, keeping that,
Right.
team morale up
Morale up. Hmm.
necessary.
They did the
I
whole meeting each other thing, as
Yeah.
all the tribes do.
Yeah. Did any of them none of them lied about their
I don't think anyone on this season lied about what they did.
um, I think Franny did.
I was thinking
She did
Franny
not
might
say
have.
that she was a research coordinator.
That's
She
true.
did not. I forgot what she said, but she did not say that, and I was
That's
like,
true.
"Oh, she said, like, something about that she leads, like, meditations and stuff."
Oh yeah.
Interesting because Danny does, like, breath work and stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Is Danny gonna call her on her BS?" Or maybe she's, like, does it a lot so she can, like, kinda fake
Right.
it till you make it kinda deal,
Right.
but I don't know. Trying to think if there's oh, yeah, and then I don't know, do we wanna talk about oh, yeah, because that happened the
Are you talking about the birdcage?
yeah, I'm still talking. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
You're okay. So we're
I'm
still on the
so
birdcage.
tired.
They meet
We're
each
still
other,
on the birdcage.
and then the birdcage comes back up after they all meet each other. And then they decide to go looking for shit.
Oh God.
And that's when it gets interesting.
And that's when this gets messy.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So they broke
So
off into pairs on the suggestion of, I believe it was Matt.
yeah.
And Matt in the confessional was like, well, yeah, someone finds a thing, they're going to have to share it. Everyone's going to know about it. That's why we go off in groups. And lo and behold, while searching for everything, the fun ragtag team of Brandon and Maddie are off together. And Brandon finds the key, pockets it, thinks for like maybe a minute and a half, and then tells Maddie about the key.
He also does such a terrible job trying to hide the fact that he got the key. He does this like weird stretch, and Maddie's like, he definitely had it. Like, I'm not
Literally.
dumb.
Here's the thing about like the actual thing about Brandon, which drives me crazy. Because what happens is Brandon finds the key and initially is going to keep it to himself. But then he tells Maddie, and Maddie is like, what if we keep it to ourselves? And to Brandon, that meant Maddie needs to be on the chopping block this week, apparently.
Yeah, he's like, I don't trust her. I'm like,
she suggested the same thing you were going to do for yourself.
AKA, Brandon just doesn't want to listen to a woman.
No.
So, really glad to not draft him on my team.
So, actually, a part that if I was on the island would put the largest amount of paranoia into me possible. In the middle of Maddie trying to like convince Brendan to keep it between them, Brandon just shouts out, "Guys, we found it!" Like in the middle of Maddie talking about it, I would have been like, "Oh no,
I would have full sent. Like, that would have pissed me off so much. She maintained really good composure through it, but like,
that's what you get when you're a strong member of the Pamela sisters.
for real, for real.
For real.
Another big thing that happened that rat too, if that wasn't big enough for you,
Matt was an adventure.
Maddie G. I wrote that he's a foraging king, because he was like going. I thought it was so pure. He's like, I'm just so excited, and he's like, it's like, okay, we got to look for these kind of leaves. I'm like foraging king over here, and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna go crab hunting, and he decides to scale this big rock. He decides to scale this big rock, and he's like in his rock climbing era, and then bam.
Then he falls.
Well, actually, not even before that. Everyone's like watching him, and everyone's like, yeah, I really like Matt. Like everyone's like saying that. Homeboy slips, and there was like, looped and gagged. Homie dislocates his shoulder. So back to my dynamics of my fantasy team. So I got Bruce.
Bruce is gone already.
Bruce is gone at this point, right?
Yep. Bruce is gone.
We've already technically been a medevac. We haven't gotten to the Tika tribe dynamics. So my homeboy Bruce, he's gone. Matt just dislocated his shoulder. And then Maddie's kind of on the outs on this tribe because of Brandon. Homophobic, transphobic.
For real, for real. Speaking of, though,
one of my fantasy teams of the girlies and the pure dads, but I guess the universe was against me. But he's fine. He's in a sling. But he's obviously worried because he's now like, well, I just did all this stuff to prove that I'm a worthy tribe member, and now I'm a liability.
Right.
But thank God he is charismatic and everyone loves him.
For real.
If he was not, he would be in a lot of trouble. And I want that. We'll get into that. Any more thoughts on the Ratu camp dynamics and what went on pre-summit?
Pre-summit, no extra thoughts.
Well, let's get into Tika. Let's get into Yam Yam and Carol.
What a tribe this is. Tika's like the fun one, the fun tribe.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Tika's where we'll go in the breaks of episodes to get fun content.
Oh my gosh.
With the exception, of course, of, as we have discussed, Bruce.
Yeah. before we even get into that, so they got stuck with Savvy, which worked out to their advantage.
Oh yeah.
And Carson was even like, "Are they stupid?
Right.
They know we're the smart ones. They're clearly," but they obviously picked like they wouldn't have. Ratu wouldn't have done well in a Savvy.
No.
They were behind on the puzzle. It's
Hmm.
just how it fell, you know. And
Right.
Carson and Helen slayed.
And I really, I feel like for this puzzle, you got to give the most credit to Helen because she was like, well, if you just look at all the accesses, it's actually pretty easy to figure out.
They're gonna win like those. Like if they keep having puzzles in those challenges, they're not going home
No.
because Carson. I don't like. I understand like Carson's hesitation.
Hmm.
He ends up blowing it up anyways. So
Right.
like, might as well now just use it to your advantage. If you're good at puzzles, you and Helen are good at puzzles. You guys are gonna stay immune. You guys are gonna stay strong.
Right.
You know, like use that to your advantage.
Hmm.
Um,
Real.
I also feel like now Carson is going to be the strongest member on his tribe.
Carson's in a very interesting spot now
Oh,
because
yeah.
first thing, he immediately went back on his strategy about telling people how smart he is.
Yeah, no, for real. Because I loved how they were all like talking because it was like cute, you know, and they're like, oh,
Hmm.
like, are you guys all are you guys single and married? And then Bruce is like, yeah, I've been married for this amount of time, longer than you've been alive. And I'm like, stop. And then Carson's like, yeah, I've never had a girlfriend. He's like, I'm just this nerdy kid, blah, blah, blah. And I gained all this weight and muscle just to come on the show. And I'm like,
Hmm.
homeboy, you literally wrote in your thing that you are not going to play up this nerd dynamic and you're going to try and like play it. This, he said, nope.
I think it might be a good move from Carson at this stage of the game because I think his role on the tribe, even though he is the nerdy type, isn't the nerdy type anymore.
Yeah. And maybe he also was like, he's like met everyone. He's like, it's not the best interest for me to like play up a different
Well, I'm
no.
wondering if he realized that he actually is in a better place in this game physically than he thought he was going to be. So he said, okay, I actually will play up my personality so that people don't realize how much of a competitive threat I am.
Yeah.
But people got to look
Sure.
out for that. Christian stood on a pole for 5 hours.
King.
King, legend, icon.
Like King
Uh,
Legend one.
so
Yeah.
yeah, Carson's in an interesting state because of that, because of the Bruce Medivac, which we'll get into in a second, and because it seems like Carson is in the center of his tribe strategically. Like
Yeah.
it's I feel like it's basically Carson and Helen running the show together at this point.
Yeah. It seems like they could kind of go either way. I feel like
Mhm.
Sarah's definitely locked with um Carson and
Mhm.
Helen,
Yeah.
but I also feel like Helen could go like Yam Yam and Carolyn are probably
Yeah.
locked. But Carolyn was like, "Well, the only person I was talking to was Bruce because she was talking to Helen." And
Right.
she's like, "I don't really know how to, like, approach people. I don't wanna come off, like, awkward or just, like, following everyone around," which
Mhm.
I mean, like, good on her for being, like, aware of that and,
Right.
you know, but she d also was, like, overthinking, poor thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, Bruce gets medevaced because he just all of a sudden felt lightheaded.
Yeah. He basically passed out for a second.
Yeah.
They came in. They said, "We got to get you back." So officially, Bruce is no longer in the game of Survivor. That is one person off of your fantasy team.
It means we can have, another I'm gonna be referencing a lot of tweets I saw because I don't
Mhm.
wanna take credit for,
Right.
you know, something that
It-
was not my original thought, but now they can officially have, have the 2 Bruces that got medevaced be team captains
yeah.
on a season of Survivor.
Well, I was gonna say I did see a clip today from Jeff's podcast where he mentioned that Bruce is invited to play Survivor again when he would want to. So
That's
Bruce
all.
has the official reinventation from Jeff. It reminds me of like Eureka in season 9.
Yeah.
Season 9 of Drag Race.
Yes. Yeah.
So now a boat arrives.
I'm
On each.
not done talking about Tika. We haven't even
Oh,
touched
right.
Yam Yam. Are
We
you
haven't
joking?
even talked about Yam Yam yet.
Like I
Everyone,
briefly mentioned it, but gay icon starts the fucking fire.
as he should.
Because and he brought up something that I totally didn't even think of. He's like, I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm used to how hot and nasty it is. And I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, you're right. And also, every single thing that he says is funny, quotable, and like, I just want him to, I just want a whole show about him.
Mhm.
Carolyn can say everything all at once with a facial expression, and I think that
Yes.
should just be noted. Um, that's my thing.
Cracked Carolyn is fantastic. I really
She's
love
better
it.
than Nora
Yeah.
by a long shot.
Mhm.
This is great. Uh,
She's
sensational.
fantastic.
Sensational, show-stopping, never been done before.
Mhm.
Okay, sorry, that was it. That's actually all I wanted to say about Yam
Okay.
Yam, for right now.
And then a boat arrives. On
It
each
sure
tribe,
does.
we've seen this before. This has happened every season in the new era. Someone's got to get sent to an island. They're going to go on a journey, whatever they call it, and then they do a thing. And the people that were chosen this time around were Sarah, Maddie B, and Lauren.
I thought it was funny that, like, um, 2 of the tribes did the sticks,
Yeah.
and then Queen Lauren was like, "Let's do rocks." And she was like, "This rock will be the one." And she knew to feel for it.
Right.
Queen.
Smart. Intelligence.
Yeah, that's queen
Very.
energy. I felt bad for Carolyn because Carolyn, like, wanted to go,
Yeah.
and, like, they didn't really let her, and then Matt didn't want to go. Matt was
Right.
like, "I don't. No,
Hmm.
absolutely not."
Right.
Um, anyways, they all get together, and they don't really show anything of them, like, really talking too
No.
much.
So they probably didn't talk too much and all.
Yeah, because I remember, like, distinctively, like, sometimes they'll show them talking. They did a lot in, like, 41, I remember, because I remember that's how, like,
Hmm.
Shan
Yeah.
and gosh, what was her name? That's
It's
gonna
also blanking me. There's too many seasons.
I think it starts with please look it up because I'm feel terrible. Oh my god.
Liana.
Liana. Okay. That's yeah, I remember in season 41, that's where like Shan and Liana, they
Hmm.
um, started their alliance, but they weren't on the same tribe. But
Right.
they didn't really do that, so nothing significant must have happened.
Hmm.
Slight change to this is usually it was like the ship's wheel.
Yeah.
It was like, what's
It
the
was the usually like say risk your vote
prisoners?
or keep your vote.
Was it prisoners? Is it called Prisoner's Dilemma? Am I stupid?
The Yes, the old one was the prisoner's dilemma.
Oh no. Thank you.
Where it was, you choose and it's like if everyone chooses it. I don't remember the rules, it was complicated.
It
But it was
was
the prisoner's
really complicated, and I'm really glad this one is
right.
more simple.
Yeah, what
Um,
they did is they solved a couple problems with this because first off, it was confirmed that Do or Die is never coming back, which thank God. But what they did, which I thought was really cool, is they took the basic idea of Do or Die, which is the trolley problem. Or what's
yep.
the trolley problem? Which is the one where you have 3 things, but then you know what one of them is, and then you have to decide if you go again to get the thing you want.
Yeah.
So it's basically a version of that this time, where they each have to choose once, and they will either get no vote, they can't vote, or an advantage. And then, if they get no vote, they can decide to go again, and again, either get an advantage or no vote. So you could walk away with an advantage, you could walk away with no vote and an advantage, or you could walk away with 2 no votes.
Yeah.
And all of those happened.
Yeah.
All of those happened. Uh, I'll go Lauren. She picked a advantage immediately. She opened up her clamshell, and it was one invitation to the Chasing Channels podcast for any time she would like to come on. Lauren, I know you listen to podcasts. I know you love podcasts. Please, we like interviewing people. Come on the podcast. No.
We'll have to DM her.
Yeah. No, Lauren got the bank your vote advantage.
I'll actually okay, side note, I actually could probably DM Bruce because
he's from the area, right? He's from the area. That would
anyways,
be
yeah, they introduced 2 new advantages.
Lauren gets bank your vote, which lets her choose not to vote at a tribal council. And if she does, she gets to keep that apartment and vote twice at a different tribal council.
I love this advantage.
It's such a cool advantage because you kind of have to strategically play it twice in order for it to work. You got to be very strategic about when you lose your vote and when you use your double vote.
Yeah, I think that this is great too, like if it shows up again in the season or if it's used in a different season. I think this is really great for when you know it's going to be a unanimous vote.
Right.
And or when you know, like you have to really know it's going to be a unanimous vote, you know?
Right.
And you're like, well, it's like whatever. I know this person's going home, so I'm just not going to vote and no one's going to know. And then you bank that vote. I think it has the perfect amount of power in contrast to what Sarah got.
Yes. But first, Matty B goes, and he loses his vote twice.
Poor thing.
Poor thing. At least he's got Franny's vote. And Sarah loses her vote once, and she gets the inheritance advantage. This advantage, if I'm understanding it correctly, can be played after all idols and advantages are played. And when it is played, you inherit those, which I think means if someone plays an idol for themselves, but then you play the inheritance advantage, you just played an idol for yourself.
Yeah, either that.
But it also works for advantages.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the advantage still applies to that person, but you just get it.
There's 2 different ways that I could. Yeah, there's 2 different ways I can see it being. It's like you just get all of those advantage powers at that tribal council when you play it. Or it's like after that tribal council, you just receive like those advantages, like physical versions of those. Yeah. Like basically they play them, but instead of giving them to Jeff, they have to give them to you.
I hate this.
It sucks. I'm going to be so honest. It sucks.
For me, I am with the people who don't like 20 million advantages played at a tribal. Yeah, it can be really fun and messy and chaotic. And I like fun and messy and chaotic when it's just fun, messy, and chaotic, and you're just kind of dealing with idols.
This is
and maybe one other thing. Right. I'm fine with extra. I think extra votes are fine. Yeah. Stealer votes are fine.
Yeah.
But like when it's 5 million, it's a lot to keep track. The game itself is already complex.
Right.
That's why there's 44 seasons of it, and then there's all the ones in the different countries that have all their other twists. Sometimes less is
more. And less power is more power.
Yeah.
This is an advantage. You hardly have to strategize about playing. Actually, this is an advantage. You don't have to strategize about playing. Because you could just realize you have to play it in a tribal council and play it. It's the second most powerful advantage Survivor has ever done outside of the Super Idols.
Yeah, I'm even fine with the Super Idol.
I think they're too powerful still. I think it's crazy.
Yeah, but you can get more advantages from this vacuum. It makes me think of, that episode of SpongeBob where it's the grandma's cookies episode, and
Mhm.
Patrick's mouth just turns into a vacuum. That's what
Yes.
it is.
Yes.
But it's like idol, steal a vote, extra whatever the yeah. So if Sarah makes it to merge and she plays that at like a crazy merge tribal, like
Mhm.
I don't know, but then she just becomes a huge threat after. Like it's just stupid.
This
It's
this
stupid.
this can't go well, I don't think.
No, I'm not a fan. I'm gonna just choose to ignore it.
I think this will
But
be the only season that this advantage appears in.
thank God.
So that happens. They all go back. Lauren does not tell the truth to her tribe about what happens at the summit. The
Mhm.
other two, Lauren doesn't tell the truth at all. Matt tells the truth halfway. No, Matt tells the
No,
truth
Matt
completely,
tells the
right?
truth completely and
And
shows
but Sarah tells the truth halfway.
yeah, Sarah,
Sarah just tells the truth
I
all the
wrote
way.
that Sarah I said it was kind of smart for Sarah
Mhm.
to say it was like last season. I say kind of because obviously more people are gonna go and they're gonna know and they're gonna find out that she lied.
Right.
So I'm like, that wasn't really your best like that was a temporary good
Mhm.
lie,
Right.
but it could maybe some people would just be like, oh, whatever, she was just trying to hide it and they don't really care. Or maybe if they really take that seriously, could bite her.
Right.
Um, yeah,
But
and
yeah,
now we're getting
various levels of telling the truth.
yeah. How about this immunity challenge? I think we need to talk about first. We need to talk about that tribal idol.
Oh my gosh.
Can we please insert the clip of Jeff just acting like a warrior?
Jeff went crazy on that.
Yeah, I literally I just want to know which props designer is a Pokemon fan and then got that design to go through.
I actually want to
That's
know how long Jeff has been waiting for a tribal idol like that so we could do something like that.
he was having a ball. He's having
I
the time of his life
I
on feet.
love actually this might be a good point because every season of Survivor has their sort of aesthetics and sometimes they differ. I love the chess aesthetic
Oh
of
my
this season of
god,
Survivor.
that was
You've got
great.
the sword and shield, all the medieval shit. We'll get to it later, but the tribal council set. Oh my god.
As a ex theater set designer, I have one word: nut.
Nut.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
That's it.
So it's another your whole tribe has to do a whole bunch of shit challenge. Specifically, they gotta paddle out, grab a chest, bring it back, drag it over some inclines and declines, untie some knots, and get a puzzle together. It's a fine challenge. The most important parts of this challenge don't really have to do with the challenge a whole lot. The
Yeah, it just
first
really has to do
being
with it.
the
Really,
first
like,
being halfway through, we get medical counter number 3 as Brandon this time nearly passes out. They have to stop the challenge. Medical comes in. Uh, Basically dehydration. I'm assuming it's from a combination of like that challenge plus having to do the sweat a day before.
yeah,
Uh,
and also like I'm just trying to think of who's. No, I was gonna say I was like I'm trying to think of who's on his tribe. I'm like, not he's not the only strong person because Kane's
right,
strong. Um,
right.
but and like the girls seem pretty strong on that tribe too. So not to, I didn't mean to undermine
Mhm.
the female strength there, but what they did was you that's a what they had to do is
Right.
a lot of strength. Even like Soka, which I think is now proven to be the most
Mhm.
physical
Yes.
tribe, they were even struggling. But
Yes.
what I was gonna say was like for most challenges, the most exciting part just happens at the end with the puzzle. So, but the difference with this puzzle was they had a collar
Mhm.
and it was a slide puzzle. Christian, again, we're gonna reference Christian. He's thrilled, probably ecstatic
Oh
to
yeah.
see a slide puzzle. King loves a slide puzzle. But they had to direct the tribe, and it
Mhm.
took literally the entire rest of the tribe to move those pieces. They were heavy. Um, I don't know where I was going with that. That's it.
Well, the other important part of this challenge didn't have to do with the challenge. It actually had to do with the two people who sat out of this challenge. That being Claire and I think it was Matt
It
G.
was definitely Matt G because of his
Yeah,
shoulder. And Claire says, "Excuse me,"
love it.
and proceeds to ask Matt to be like, "Oh, like, I forgot what she's like, oh, like, what did Lauren?" I forgot what specifically what she said,
She
but pretty
asked
much,
like, "What did they bring back from the summit, or what
yeah,
did they tell you about the summit?"
yeah. And then Matt says what Lauren says, and
Mhm.
Claire's like, "That's not what happened. Matt showed us the paper."
Right, and
And
Claire in a confessional says that one of the reasons that she told him this is that she likes Matt, which I want to point out is the second time in the episode where someone has flat out said I like Matt, referring to Matt G.
yeah,
The other time being Kane when he was climbing the fucking rock. Uh,
yeah. So
so this is good sign for Matt G. You're
this is good for my
good
fantasy
for
team.
you.
Thank God. I need it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that the cross
Mhm.
tribal,
Yeah.
yeah, the cross tribe strategizing, I'm always a fan
Insane.
of. That was great.
Right.
Probably the most iconic thing to happen this episode, in my
Right.
opinion. Um,
And it comes at a good time for Matt to find out because Ratu Tribe loses this immunity challenge.
yeah,
They are the ones that have to go to tribal council.
yeah. And before we even talk about tribal council, the end of this immunity challenge, I wrote a very notable Carolyn quote, which is, "I peed my pants."
Yep.
And I'm like, girl, same. She's just
Keeping it real.
she could barely cut her first confessional, and then she had to take off her pants.
Yeah.
They were holding her back, and then she peed her pants. So I just don't think pants and Carolyn work.
Her peeing her pants makes me think of that challenge back in Nicaragua where they all have to jump into the pool and Fabio pees into the lake.
Yeah, no, he literally it was like the defense, like they had to like throw a ball and they were
Yeah.
like defending, and he just
Yeah.
pissed in the pool.
He
And I mean he won, so
Yeah. I mean, so go piss, girl, you know?
oh. I saw a TikTok and it was what do I definitely sent it to you. I don't know if I sent it to you. I definitely liked it and I was gonna show it to you the next time we were together.
Mhm.
But he was like, "What do vegans don't say go piss girl, they say chickpea." Anyways,
Anyways, we go back to Ratu camp and the scrambling of all scrambling begins.
this is messy.
Uh,
And it's
so the
literally the
first thing
first
that gets out is that uh, actually we talked. Oh, did we talk about Brandon got the cage? Yeah, we talked about that already.
yeah, we did talk. So
But
Brandon,
everyone knows that. So people are talking about Brandon because he's got an idol. We all know this.
yeah, Maddie's team get Brandon out of here. She
Yeah,
wants to flush the idol.
yeah.
Um, she said,
Brandon and his team get Lauren out here for like a second and then hops on Team Maddie. Get out of
yeah,
here.
because Matt disclosed.
Yeah,
Did Matt disclose to Brandon? Yeah.
yeah,
So those are the two names that were like kind
yeah,
of floating around.
yeah. And then
And
Jamie just like pops up to someone and she's like, "So I have to use my shot in the dark, right?" Even though not a single person is talking about Jamie. Her name actually wasn't mentioned a single time in the scramble.
I think she was just really fearful that she was going to be the first boot, to be completely honest with
Right.
you. Um, I thought that was a really stupid move on her part.
Yes. Paranoia is good for you in Survivor to a fault, and I think she found the fault.
Yeah. And then Maddie's really scrambling and really like going hard. She's talking to everyone, and this raises some red flags, especially for Brandon, who already
Brandon.
had mistrust with her because apparently her telling him what to do even though he asked for an opinion was just too much for him. So he's like, "Oh, damn, she's just like playing really hard and I don't really trust her."
Hmm.
Which is understandable. Like she was really trying to get it together and like mad respect to her. But I was like,
Right.
I was worried for her, but obviously keeping my hopes up because she was my winner pick. Um, and I
Right.
really, really liked her. Um, but yeah, and you know whose name doesn't get mentioned, even though he has a dislocated shoulder, is Matt, which that
Doesn't
is so impressive.
Hmm.
So that is
That is.
testament. That's
Hmm. I do also have to say,
I can't
Kane's name also never gets brought up. Uh, Kane, Matt, and I
Jamie.
just said her name a second ago, and I'm forgetting it
Jamie.
now.
Jamie.
Jamie. They were all not in the chopping block. Their names weren't said. It was really between the other three in the tribe
Yeah, but it's kinda really crazy that was between 3 people on a six-person tribe
on the
on
first
the first day.
episode.
That's absolutely bonkers.
So we're about to go into tribal council. Who did you think was going to go home when we were heading into tribal council?
I thought Brandon was gonna go home,
I thought
but
Brandon was going to go home, but please be on our podcast. Anyways.
yeah, I thought Brandon was gonna go home because I really thought that Kane, was on Maddie's side, and he was.
I thought Lauren was going to go home because I thought that Kane and Matt were going to vote for her.
Yeah.
And, well, we'll talk about why that wasn't the case.
Yeah,
My other question about tribal council, every tribal council this season, we have to ask, Joel, how much like a camp counselor did Jeff act in this tribal council?
well, as we were texting throughout this episode, I don't wanna steal who you compared him to, but he really is becoming, like, this popular animated character.
Yeah. Um, Between the trying to kill all of the contestants and just his general demeanor this season, Jeff is becoming more and more like Chris McClane from Total Drama Island every day. Which
They
is
also
funny considering
dress
that Chris
really similar.
McClane. It's very funny because Chris McClane is a parody of Jeff Probst. So it's
Yeah.
full circle moment coming back around.
Yeah, especially going back to the immunity challenge and him just being a freaking warrior with the sword and shield. I was
Yeah.
like, "That is such a Chris McClane."
That was very camp counselor energy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I have to say, out of 10, I would say Jeff was at a 7 this week in terms of camp counselorness.
Yeah, and it's only gonna go up.
It's only there's gonna be the one tribal. There's one every season. There's gonna be the one tribal.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
But it's not this tribal. They talk about stuff. That doesn't really matter because then we get to the votes.
I was gonna say, I couldn't tell you a single,
No.
like, notable
Right.
because sometimes there is moments at tribal council, I'm like, "Did they really just say that?" I
Hmm.
can't maybe I should take better notes for next episode, or maybe I'm just really tired
Right.
because, I did only get 4.5 hours of sleep last night.
Mm.
I was up until 11, and then I woke up at 3:30 because just opener things.
Right.
Anyways, but what's more important about this tribal is the amount of advantages that were played, and oh my god.
Oh boy, you thought the end of Game Changers was crazy. Try the beginning of 44. So we get Lauren banking her vote, which
Yep.
means Lauren doesn't vote. We get shot in the dark by Jamie, which we knew was going to happen. We get shot in the dark by Matt, which we didn't know was going to happen.
Yeah,
That was a surprise.
I can at least understand from Matt's point of view why he played it.
Considering his
'Cause
injury.
he was injured.
I was seeing a lot of people online in the discussion forums talk about how they think Matt played his shot in the dark so he wouldn't have to reveal what side of the tribe dynamics he's on yet.
Which that would be smart.
That would be another smart thing to do.
because the way like, that would be smart for Jamie too if she was
Mhm.
playing it that way, but she clearly wasn't 'cause she literally
No.
was like she literally they literally before trial was just like, "I gotta play it because 'cause I'm paranoid."
Right.
Which that's like, ugh.
Right. So, if you're keeping track, there are 3 votes cast at this tribal council. Jeff grabs the votes, and then, well, they go through the shot in the darks. They do Matt first, who is not safe. They do Jamie second, who is safe. Congratulations, Jamie. You're the first person to ever succeed with shot in the dark. If she was on either of our teams, that would be great for us.
She is not.
She is not. So whoops.
So, whoops.
So
Then
yeah.
but just wait,
Then,
there's more.
then there's more because Brandon plays his idol. And congratulations, Brandon. I looked up to make sure Brandon is the first person to successfully play an idol since the no votes tribal council in the finale episode of Winners at War.
Insanity.
And also, looking that up reminded me that there was a tribal council where they had to revote because nobody got votes in Winners at War. First one of the whole new. It's crazy. There's so much advantages in Survivor, and it's taken 4 seasons for an idol to be played correctly.
See, that's why I'm like, we need to
Right.
we need to scale it back and just have one where it's just idols, but people think that there's 500 advantages and then they're just paranoid.
Right.
That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. So there are 3 votes cast. They are cast by Brandon, Maddie, and Kane. Maddie and Kane vote for Brandon. Brandon votes for Maddie. Being the 3rd person in Survivor history to be voted out with 1 vote, Maddie is the first person voted out of Survivor 44.
I don't want to think it's real and I don't want to talk about it.
I was devastated because I was hoping for a lot more from Maddie. Obviously, I thought she was going to go really far.
I'm just so mad. And like props to Brandon, like that's a feather in his cap because but also I'm like
It's not.
this is it's a like feather it would have been a feather in his cap if this was the final 6.
I think of it as like right now it was a good move to keep himself in the game. Later in the season he's going to be known as the guy who played an idol on the first tribal council.
Yeah.
And I don't know how well that could go for you in Survivor.
No, and like you already probably have like some this like now Kane's gonna be like, well, what was I gonna say? Since Kane voted against him, there's now kind of that like uneasiness between them two. But I don't know now actually where the others stand.
Right.
Really.
So the episode of Survivor is over. Let's talk about our fantasy teams. For scoring for this episode, before we talk about other updates, for scoring, I received 3 points this episode because 3 of my 4 people won the tribal immunity challenge. And Joel received 1 point for the exact same reason.
Yeah.
Joel also lost 2 of his fantasy team members, and 1 of them got injured.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, because this would be insanely unfair if we didn't, Joel is going to pick 2 new members for his team because I feel like it's just fair.
Yeah, and trust me, I appreciate that. And I do semi now have the upper hand of watching the first episode. I did pick 2 people. I did pick 2 people who do not have advantages. So that's kind of like I feel like an evening out because like I'm like I'm not guaranteeing that one of them could get me points for playing an advantage correctly. You know? Um,
And you will not get points for anything those two did this episode.
episode. Yes, exactly. So I decided to go with Maddie B Reps and Helen. Um, I
If
just texted it to I texted
yeah,
it what we were talking about it last night, but that's who will be on my team instead. I decided to just pick another female and
right.
then another male, and I also will now not have a winner pick. So
Do you not want to make a? We didn't talk about this. Do you want to make another winner's pick, or
it's
are you fine with not
it
having
is
it
up
because
to you.
the person you chose got voted out first?
It's up to you.
I say you can pick a winner pick again.
I'm gonna go with Matt G.
Okay,
Even though he's a nerd.
fantastic.
Based off of literally the two things of them being like, I like him. I don't know.
So we will get an updated graphic for you all on the Instagram for teams.
Yeah, LOL.
Yep,
I'll make an updated graphic to post on the Instagram.
yep. If you want to look at our point tallies so far, they're right here, and it's gonna pop up and do a cool
Yeah.
editing thing because it's
Woo.
nice.
And then I'll
Woo!
probably yeah.
So
I'm
we predicted first
so
boots
sorry.
a while back. So last episode we did some predictions. One of those was for first boot. I'm going to say out loud who our predictions were for first boot. So, Joel, your prediction from first boot was actually the first person we heard from all episode, which was Carolyn.
Yeah.
And my prediction for first boot was Heidi. Not even close to what happened at all. We weren't even close. In
Now
fact, we
and
quite
now
the
that I'm
opposite. One of the winner
looking
picks went home first.
now that I'm looking at, like, the tribe dynamics, I feel like I don't know, if there's more puzzle heavy ones, I feel like Tika's gonna be, like, safe.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know if Carolyn will be the first one to go home from Tika.
Right.
I feel like from Soka, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I really can't even predict it now because
Yeah.
of just what happened. I'm like,
Yeah.
if you told me Maddie was first boot, I don't think anyone saw that coming. I don't think anyone saw that Bruce was gonna be the medevac. I realized when we did, like, wild predictions that, like, everyone kinda knew that there was gonna be a medevac because but they did a trailer at the end of
Right.
season 43, they literally hinted at a
Mhm.
medevac. So, when I said that, I was like, I kinda sound really stupid when I said that because everyone
No.
knew that there was gonna be a medevac, but I, if I thought it was gonna be from the Orange tribe,
Hmm.
and I did not expect it to be Bruce
Bruce.
at
No, not
all,
at all.
and I did not expect it to happen literally 1 minute into the challenge. Not even,
Yeah.
like,
Not
20
even.
seconds, 10 seconds. The first moment of the challenge.
Mhm. I'm super pumped for the rest of this season.
I am too. I am too. I'm not gonna get, like I'm not overly hyped. Like, I just think the hype's gonna build.
I think that this first episode felt the most like old era Survivor of all the new era seasons
Yeah.
so far. I think strategy was featured first and foremost this episode, which which is part of the reason why I feel like it felt that way.
Yeah, I felt like as much as I am team, I like hearing about their backstories. It was nice to not hear about everybody's
Yeah.
backstory in the first episode. I like that it's probably going to be spaced out
Hmm.
and it's going to be good. And like I'm happy about that. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know, because I have no thoughts in my brain.
Well, there aren't really much thoughts left to give about this episode of Survivor.
Yeah,
We got another one next week.
except for, do you remember anything significant from the preview? What happened?
I do remember Matt and Franny sitting in a tree.
Yeah, I remember Carolyn being
Yeah.
Carolyn. So more Carolyn being Carolyn, which, I mean, if
Mhm.
they didn't show Carolyn being Carolyn in the next episode, that
Right.
I'd be shocked.
For real. But what did you think about Survivor season 44? the premiere? Let us know in the comments down below. Tweet at us at Chasing Channels. Follow us at Chasing Channels on all the social medias. Subscribe to us on the YouTube, the Spotify, and let us know who you think's going home next week.
Yeah. Let us know who's going home next week. Should we say who we think's going to go?
Who do you think's going home next week?
So I have to think of who I think, excuse me. I have to think of who I think's losing, what tribe is losing.
Mm-hmm.
I think, unfortunately, that the orange tribe is going to be hit with a curse.
Yeah.
And I think Jamie is going to be the next boot.
Interesting. I think Brandon's the next boot. I think they're going to pull the trigger again.
Yeah.
He doesn't have an idol to
So
say.
we both think orange tribe is losing.
Yeah.
And I think Jamie's going home, and you think Brandon is going home.
Absolutely.
And also, since Brandon played his idol, that means that there might be a nice, fun little idol search scramble, and I love those.
Which actually, that would be a good time for Brandon to hide the fake medallion.
Do you? Oh my god!
We never talked about it, but he also got a fake medallion for whatever he wants to do with it.
I love that.
Great.
I love that.
I love when the advantage is make a fake advantage.
I'm wondering, does the idol get reset back into the birdcage and they have to find a key again?
That would be crazy.
I would love that.
I would live. Sincerely.
I insert Trinity the Tuck.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave. Thank you.
Anyway, before the sunset goes down even more and I'm completely invisible, that's us here from Chasing Channels. We'll see you next time.